Good morning, dear students. Here is your video for 17th of April 2020. Until yesterday, we discussed about the various types of pollination. To sum up, we discussed about self-pollination, where the anthers from the same plant or the same flower were going and sticking to the stigma of the flowers of the same plant or same flower. Based on that, we had two types of self-pollination, autogamy and geitonogamy. Talking of cross-pollination can take place with the help of some agents. These agents can be biotic agents or abiotic. Now, abiotic agents included pollination with the help of water or pollination with the help of wind. The wind pollinated plants are the most common type of plants, and after that it is the insect or pollinated plants which are much more common than the other type of pollinators. So we discussed about wind pollination, we discussed about water pollination, we discussed about zoophily, that is pollination with the help of insects, animals. And in case of this zoophily, there are various names given to each type of pollination. Whenever you come across the reference books, you would get to know what these different types of pollination are. Like for birds, pollination with the help of bird is known as ornithophily. Similarly, pollination with the help of insects is known as entomophily. So then you have to also know what are the examples of each type of these pollination. Salvia, you all have studied, is a common example where the insects are helping in pollination. The flower is positioned such that the insect can enter the flower, and in the process the stigmas bend and they stick to the body of the insect, thereby taking up the pollens that are attached to the insect's body. Similarly, the pollens also get attached to the insect's body as the anthers are bent or they brush when the insect enters the flower for taking the nectar. So in various types of pollination we discussed, I have sent various videos also showing the pollination and various cases. Now there are certain advantages and certain disadvantages. Like in self-pollination, there is a very big disadvantage of your inbreeding depression. Now what is this inbreeding depression? Whenever a plant undergoes self-pollination, that means its own genes are only manipulated or its own genes are only being used to form a new progeny. In that case, what happens? Yes, the good characters prevail, definitely, but then at times it happens some important character which is not very strong in the plant is lost in the progeny, and other than that the vigor, the hybrid vigor is lost. See, each and every individual looks for betterment, like if a plant is producing better products, if it is more useful, it is of more use, it is better suited to the environment, that is what even the plant guns for. But then due to the inbreeding depression, these characters are eventually lost. The height of the plant will go down, the productivity of the plant will go down, its resistance power with the environment would go down. So this is known as inbreeding depression, that with continuous selfing the characters go on deteriorating. Yes, we do get true breeding types which are important for breeding programs, but then there is depression, the characters go down, the characters that are present in the plant, they somehow start reducing. And to prevent that, cross pollination is a better way of pollination, and it is a better way of creating progeny. So again, talking of the advantages of cross pollination, definitely you get variation in the genetic content that helps in improving the species. It brings in hybrid vigor. Now what is hybrid vigor? It creates the plant, the characters are reborn, the characters are out to grow, Suppose I'll give you an example. If you bring a hybrid plant from the nursery, the first season you get very beautiful flowers. I'm talking of rose. Suppose you got a very beautiful variety of rose from the nursery and you keep it. The first year you get beautiful blossom, big flowers, and the plant is good, healthy. Next year again, if you apply some these fertilizers and manures, you get good flowers. But eventually, within a span of 4 to 5 years, the size of the flowers decreases. You don't get the same flower which you got on the first time or the first year you had bought it from the nursery. Why did this happen? This happens because of inbreeding depression. Now, what do the people at the nursery do? They keep on breeding plants. Either they do grafting. I hope you know what is grafting. It is a mode of vegetative propagation to improve the quality of the plant. Similarly, if crossing is done, like with a good variety of type of species, the older variety is mixed, then again some characters are revived. So this is known as hybrid vigor. Hybrid vigor, that means the progeny, which is a hybrid of two different plants, will show good characters from both the plants. Again, there are disadvantages even in this type of pollination, cross pollination. It happens at times that while crossing, some good characters are lost. Like there were scientists, they thought, if we can do crossing, why not grow potatoes as well as tomatoes on the same plant? Like growing the potatoes underground the soil and the tomatoes on the branches. So they did a cross between the two plants, thinking that they will grow potatoes underground and tomatoes on the stems. But in spite of getting the desired result, they got just the opposite result. Neither did they get potatoes nor did they get tomatoes. So they got the stem characters of the potato plant and the root characters or the modification stem characters of the tomato plant. So it did not occur. So all experiments need not be successful, but then we keep trying for getting results. So talking again of the disadvantages, it takes a lot of time for this cross pollination to occur. It is a matter of chance. We discussed it just now also. See, certain videos were there. You saw the bees were moving from one plant to another plant, from one flower to another flower. How does the stigma identify that I have to take the pollen of this particular type? See, there are certain chemical reactions which occur between a pollen and the stigma. Has it ever happened that from the seeds of a mango tree you get a different plant? It has never happened so. So what happens when this pollination is occurring? The pollens have a sporopollenin on its outermost covering. We have studied the exine. Similarly, the stigma secretes certain chemicals which are identified by these pollen grains. When the pollen grains are identified by the stigma with these chemicals, they stick to it. So the stigma will allow the germination of pollen grains which are suitable for that stigma. This is how they cut short the self-incompatibility pollens also, as well as pollen from other species also. They would allow pollens only of the desired type to germinate on the stigma, and this particular phenomenon is known as pollen pistil interaction. It is a completely biochemical process. The stigma secretes certain chemicals which are identified, or the stigma identifies the pollens. It's both ways. Both the pollen and the stigma identify themselves, then only this pollination. So the pollen grains are having the pollen sporopollenin, and the stigma is secreting the chemicals. Together they react, and the pollen pistil interaction further on enhances the steps so that the pollen grains can germinate, give rise to pollen tube. the pollen tube would germinate, it will pass through the style and then move on to the ovary to fertilize the female gamete, that's the egg cell. If you see this diagram, it shows that so many pollens have landed on the stigma, isn't it? So many pollens have landed on the stigma, but then only one is germinating and moving ahead into the embryo sac. This is allowed because of the biochemical events that occur between the pollen walls and the stigma. So there is a receptivity of the stigma. It will allow only the suitable pollen to germinate over here. As the male gametes reach the filiform apparatus, you see the filiform apparatus helps the male gametes enter the embryo sac. The male gametes, the vegetative nuclei, all of them are together. With the help of the pollen tube, they have reached the filiform apparatus, and the filiform apparatus helps in entering of the male gametes into the embryo sac. As it enters, among the two male gamete, one goes and fuses with the egg cell. The other male gamete goes and fuses with the two polar nuclei. So what will happen? Male gamete is haploid, egg cell is haploid. It will form a diploid zygote. Male gamete is haploid, polar nuclei there are two, so it is diploid. Diploid plus one haploid will become a triploid. So the nuclei formed by polar nuclei and the male gamete is a triploid. So with the knowledge that we have obtained that the pollen pistil interaction is a matter of chance, and stigma only if it accepts the pollen tube will germinate. These features can be utilized by breeders to develop a seed of his own choice, isn't it? And this is done by artificial hybridization. Suppose I want a specific pollen to go and germinate on the stigma. What do? I remove the anthers of the plant. So what will happen? Self-pollination chances will become 0, and then cover the flower with some bag, a cloth bag or a paper bag. Now when the stigma is receptive, it has developed, it has become mature, the pollens from a desired plant is taken by the breeder and brought near the stigma, and again the flower is covered so that other pollen grains do not come. Because pollen grains also have a character that some pollen grains germinate faster than the other pollen grains and would cause the fertilization of the egg cell before a desired pollen from the breeder would go and fertilize. So what they do, they remove the anthers, the stigma is exposed, it is kept covered so that other pollen grains cannot come and stick to it. And then when the desired pollen grains are available and the stigma is ready, it's mature enough, the desired pollens are dusted on the stigma, and again the flower is covered so that no other pollen grains can sit on the flower. Now the pollen grains that have been dusted by the breeder, it starts germinating, and then the stigma doesn't have any other choice than to allow this pollen to germinate. So it allows, and the male gametes go near the micropylar end. From the micropylar end, it enters the embryo sac. The filiform apparatus helps in interacting the male gametes into the embryo sac. The two male gametes, one of them goes and fuses with the egg cell, the other goes and fuses with the polar nuclei, forming the triploid PEN, which is known as primary endosperm nucleus. Now this nuclei, triploid nuclei, increases in number to increase the number of the cells over there, forming a tissue which helps in providing nutrition to the growing zygote. That is the function of this triploid nuclei. It forms tissues or cells that would provide nutrition to the growing zygote. That is the reason it is formed. Before going into that, I would like to discuss a bit more about artificial hybridization, where two processes are there. As I told you, removing the anthers, which is known as emasculation. So emasculation is what? It is removal of the anthers of the flower so that self-pollination is prevented. Now waiting that the stigma develops. Once it is developed, the breeders bring in the pollen they want to fertilize and then cover the flower. Okay, now covering the flower after emasculation is known as bagging. So with the help of a cloth or with the help of a paper, the flower is covered so that other pollens don't come and sit on the stigma. Well, all these experiments are matter of chance, and if they come and if they give a fruitful result, it is just a matter of chance. As I gave you the example of potato and tomatoes, not all breeding experiments have given very favorable results. Well, it is so, but then again we do get very good results at times because of breeding. So people do keep breeding for getting better quality of plant, better quality of fruit and food products.